Welcome back, everybody. Happy post Tesla shareholder meeting for 2023. I want to go ahead and make a few videos regarding different topics that I found interesting. Hopefully, these can be a little shorter, easier to consume. So, first, we're going to talk about FSD. All right. So, this video is going to be all about Tesla and FSD, things that were said and that we learned during the shareholder meeting. So, with that said, do me a favor, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, ring that bell, and let's go ahead and get into it.
And FSD Beta is growing hyper exponentially. So that chart is going to look like a wall, basically.
So I'm already pausing it here real quick. So this is the miles driven by FSD Beta, right? Now I will point out, just for context, that up to this point, highway miles has not been part of the count, to my understanding. And so this kind of accelerant on the miles is probably due to the fact that now we have highway miles in that. So it'll be interesting to see what this looks like from March to April to May, et cetera, moving on. But I just want to provide some of that context just to be as accurate as we can.
And just a question for those in the room: how many people have tried out FSD Beta? Okay, great. so what do you think of the latest build? Right. So it's really getting to the point where it's at least for me, when I drive around, it's several days between interventions, and I think we're getting to the point where there's really just one last piece of the system that needs to be a neural net, which is the planning and control function, and so we expect to have that last piece become neural net, so it'll be end to end from video in to control out as a neural net.
So that's really exciting that that's the last piece that's not a neural net. And the reason is because Elon told us that whenever that version 12 is reserved for when it's end-to-end neural net. So in other words, photons from camera come in, neural nets make a decision that goes out to a mechanical function at the steering wheel or pedal level, right? So it's really just the planning and controls that's left, and that leads me to think that we're getting very close to version 12, especially this year. Keep in mind, we're only mid-May, so we have well over half a year left to go. So I think that's a very bullish sentiment.
The thing to appreciate is it's not that full self-driving will be as good as a person. It will be much, much better, like a lot, like over time, and 10 times safer than a person. It's not even going to be a contest, frankly. So this is a really big deal, and I think some people realize it. I think you guys probably realize it, but being able to do a software update and have several million cars suddenly go from manual driving to autonomous, I think will be the single biggest asset value increase in history. The normal usage of a passenger car is roughly 10 to 12 hours per week, call it maybe an hour and a half per day. And when you drive around, you see lots of cars just parked in parking lots, because out of the 168 hours in a week, they're using less than 10%, maybe 7% of the hours of the week a car is in use. But once it is autonomous, it can be used probably, I don't know, 50 hours a week, maybe more. It's effectively a five-fold increase in the value of a car overnight. I'm actually surprised that so few people realize this, or maybe they just don't believe it's real, but it is.
Yeah, and this is essentially where for investors, this is where the delta comes in, right? This is what will allow us to have those outsized returns compared to everybody else, because people don't see it. There's a YouTube channel called Gaia EV. That means street EV in Spanish, Gaia, Calle. And I was just watching a YouTube video of them where they took a Waymo in Arizona and a Tesla running 11.3.6, and they put them to a test to go to a certain point at the same. They launch them at the same time and they race essentially. And with Waymo, as we all know, it's geo restricted, but they've recently increased that surface area that it can drive in. Anyways, long and short, the Tesla was able to get there half an hour sooner, maybe even more, maybe it was 40 minutes sooner than the Waymo was. And on top of that, the Waymo cost $45 for that trip. So it took about an hour to do the trip, where Tesla took about 20 to 30 minutes. And, Elon's sitting there talking about in the press push of a button, right? All of a sudden, everybody can have this ability with full self-driving. but it's more than that, right? Because let's say every company can somehow figure out how to do it the way Tesla does it, where they can put this vehicle in one spot anywhere in the world and it can drive, right? We know Waymo's geo restricted and they have to map out all these roads and everything. So I don't think that will ever truly scale. But let's say they can. Let's say even if they get to that point, right? The fact that Tesla owns the entire supply chain, right? They're so vertically integrated that it's still going to be impossible for anybody to compete with them on a cost basis. This is why I really think that robo taxis are a winner take all. Whoever can manufacture, create the software, the batteries, the insurance, the supercharging network, all that encompassing, it's game set match, right? Nobody else is gonna be able to compete on that from a price perspective. Tesla's just gonna price everybody out of the market, and it will be a monopoly. So I don't know. Just my thoughts. Let's continue to see what else Elon has to say.
This is really an insanely big deal.
Agreed.
We're also the largest EV maker in the world. So
Put this in here just for to contextualize it as well, right? Because okay, so the closest we know to Tesla was full self driving. I don't know about everything going on in China, so I'll exclude that for right now. But we know Ford has Blue Cruise, which it's really really bad. I don't even call that competitor, but you can see here where they are on the map as far as creating EVs. Then we have GM with Cruise, which I would say it might be in second place. But again, you see where they are here. They are struggling. They sold two Hummers last quarter, EV Hummers last quarter, and they're excommunicate or they're excuse me, they're deprecating the Bolt, which is essentially all their volume, and this is where they're at. So, I, again, even if everybody can solve the full self driving problem, how do you make it as cost effective as Tesla can as far as a robo taxi? Right, everybody's gonna be charging say $3 a mile or whatever it would be, and Tesla's gonna be at half the cost. It's essentially again game set match.
and while at the same time being the highest margin of any car maker in the world.
And again, here we can just look at the margins from Tesla to Mercedes, Stellantis, all the way down. They can't even keep up on just the EV side. So how are they going to do it when they have to pay a third party for their software? And who knows? Maybe it'll be Tesla.
Now, making electric vehicles profitably is hard, as illustrated by the difficulty of our competitors. A number of our competitors are making EVs at a significant loss, but we are not. We are actually making EVs profitably, and almost no one else is.
So I just want to rewind real quick. Let's look at that chart again. So BYD slightly profitable, but this includes the hybrid vehicles, right? So I would say that shouldn't really count. And this is with crazy subsidies, but Tesla gets subsidies too, so we'll just call that a wash. You can see where NIO is, Xpeng, right? So these are the Chinese auto manufacturers. Then you have Ford EV here. And I'm pretty sure this should actually be down to about 100% plus, just as Rivian and Lucid are, based off of what we saw the last earnings report for the Model E division. And again, look at Rivian and Lucid, right? These are supposed to be the Tesla killers. And look at them. See these two lines? This means that it's just gonna skip it, and there's more to go, right? Like there's more to this downward bar graph. So Tesla's in a league of their own. All right, so let's look at the next clip I have.
So I think the notion of having entertainment apps and whatnot becomes increasingly important as the cars achieve self-driving, because otherwise you can only really play games or watch movies or whatever when the car is stationary. Which if it's charging or whatever, that then you can use it. But when it's at the point at which it's full self-driving, I think it's very much about entertainment and productivity. So I think that is something that might make sense in the future. But overwhelmingly, the focus right now for Tesla software, apart from improving safety, is achieving full self-driving and then getting full self-driving to be much safer than human driving. And then once we achieve full self-driving, I think that there could be a lot of opportunity for apps and whatnot. So, but even the car as it is today, for a Model S and X, we've made a sort of a full Steam integration. So you can actually just literally log on with a Model S or X with your Steam account and play any game that is on Steam, which is a lot of games. Which is pretty wild. I think a lot of people don't know that. You can play with a keyboard and mouse. You can play with a joystick or controller. You can also play Netflix, YouTube, or anything else. For my little son X, he loves watching, actually loves watching rocket videos in the rear screen of the Model S and X. Yeah, so it is something that we will do long term. Um, but one of the things, we already have a lot of stuff there, and we'll do more as self-driving becomes a reality.
So again, the whole point of that question was whether or not there's going to be more towards games and infotainment type stuff. And I think the individual was asking specifically about like a Lord of the Rings game, but again, you can see that they're already thinking about this next thing that they'll have to get into or they will get into. And as Elon said, once we get to autonomous vehicles, it's going to be about entertainment and productivity, right? So working from the car, going from meeting to meeting, or just in general, just having fun while you're in there while you transport yourself to where you're going. So I think personally, this is gonna be a big disruptor to trains, to buses, to even the airlines, right? I mean, if I'm going to from where I am to go to Miami, it's about 4.5 hours. And personally, I actually prefer to fly down there. I know people sit there and they think, oh, by the time you get to the airport, by the time you get on the plane, go through security, you gotta get there early. You land, you gotta pick up your bag, you gotta call an Uber or whatever. By the time we do all that, you could have just driven there. And yes, that's true. But you know what the difference is? When I am on the plane, I don't have to pay attention. I can have a drink if I want to have a drink. I can do some work. I can take a nap, right? All these things I can't do if I'm driving. And so I think it'll be very disruptive to any trips that are like 4 to 5 hours. I think people will just say, hey, I'll just get in my autonomous car and we'll go. I can, bring some drinks with me. I can do some work. I can take a nap. I can watch a movie, right? Essentially everything we do on the plane, except it'll be more comfortable. It'll be less gross. I won't have to worry about having someone next to me that don't want to have next to me. And I think that's where things are going to get really disruptive. And so again, that'll affect buses. That'll affect the airline industries. I think trains. So it's going to be a very big deal, and it'll be very cost effective as well. All right. So let's move on to the next clip. And this next clip is exciting because this is with John Gibbs, Doctor Know It All. So congrats to him for getting this moment, this question, and a commitment from Elon to jump onto his YouTube channel for a interview discussing FSD. It's exciting. Not to be that Debbie Downer or anything, but I would hold this or take this with a grain of salt because we're still owed a Tesla Daily or a Dave Lee interview from Elon. So I take it with a grain of salt, but nevertheless, it's still exciting. Congrats to the other Gibbs, John.
My question is, as you guys move completely or finish the transition in full self-driving from version 1.0 of the software to 2.0, what do you perceive of as the potential stumbling blocks after that? Because it seems like that's the major, kind of step change that needed to happen. And so you're almost done with that. And what happens after that? And also, please let me interview about full self-driving. I'll spend 2 hours talking about just that. So thank you.
Well, one can really think about full self-driving as sort of a march of nines of reliability. So we need to get to the point where the probability of injury is lower than that of the average human driver, and then ultimately probability of injury is much lower. So even at the point at which the car is capable of driving itself, there's still actually a lot of work to do. Because every year there's 1 million people that die in auto accidents, and I think probably everyone in this audience has friends and family that have died or been seriously injured in auto accidents. And for every
Yeah, I thought this was a kind of a sad moment because for those of you who don't know, so JB Straubel, he was one of the founders of Tesla. He's now officially on the board, but he was there in the audience, and his wife actually got or died from a driver. I don't know if they were drunk or an accident or something, but I believe she was walking down the road or something. So I thought that was kind of a sad moment, but for those who know about that, I think that kind of, it was one of those things where you knew that even if you hadn't had something like that happen to you or know someone, you did know that someone in that room in that moment was feeling a certain way, right? It's just, I don't know. I guess just even watching it from the live stream, the empathy, of knowing that somebody was hurt in their thought and memory about something like that happening. So, but yeah, it's a serious problem, and I like what Elon says there. And even once we solve the ability for the vehicle to drive itself, even if it's just as adequate as a human being, there's still a lot more work to do there, because even when it's just at that level, right, we need it to be much, much better than humans, because there are over 1 million people that die every year. I think 30 to 40,000 people in our country alone. So that's why when I say that I think that FSD will be complete by the end of this year, I guess what I'm really saying, it'll be done to where it can drive end to end on its own, parking lots, highways, everything, right? Human input is really needed, but that doesn't mean it's 10x better than humans yet. So that's where Elon's saying where it'll take some time after that.
There's like 1 million people that died. There's 10 million people roughly that are seriously, like, permanently injured. Um, and, um, and so it matters that if we can get that down by an order of magnitude, there's like 900,000 lives saved per year, maybe 9 million severe injuries prevented per year.
Yeah.
And so that really, I think, morally has to be our primary goal. I guess I'm open to an interview on FSD. 2 hours is a long time, but okay. All right, I'll do an interview. It's got to be on Twitter, but sure. All right.
I hope this interview happens. This will be absolutely great if this happens. I know John. We've spoken a few times. We met last year at the Tesla shareholder meeting, and I think he would do an excellent job interviewing, asking good questions. I'm sure he would pull a lot of us, ask a lot of us for questions, but I think this would be absolutely excellent. It would, I think, go right along with everything that Elon wants, where it's not silly questions he's had before. And hopefully it's a topic that he'd be, very intrigued into talking about. So, all right, we got 2 more quick clips here.
Extremely seriously. For navigation, there's definitely things we can improve there. But really, down the road, navigation visuals are not going to matter very much, because the car is going to take you wherever you want to go.
So I just put this clip in here because I thought it was important to understand. A lot of people keep talking about, navigations. Can we have it show us, where it's going, what's next going to happen, or like a picture of the exit and stuff like that. And I think it's important for people not to be myopic when we're thinking about full self-driving and autonomy. We need to think bigger. And that's essentially what Elon's saying here. Why would we waste time on trying to refine the navigation of where you're driving and showing you like the exit and what should be there, or a building? That's a waste of compute. That's a waste of time, people's times. That's a waste of resources, when all of that is extremely valuable, and we don't have enough of it. And so if it's going to be rendered useless in a world of autonomy, then, again, first principles thinking would suggest that we don't need to incorporate that at all, or spend any time on it to begin with. So I thought that was important to share, again, for the sake of not being myopic and thinking long term. All right, here we go. Last clip, and we'll wrap it up.
But overwhelmingly, it is about achieving full self-driving. And I think we're really getting to the final stages of full self-driving, where I drove for several days around Austin, just dropping pins in random locations, and I had 0 safety interventions. So it's really, and even in the city of San Francisco, which is very complex, I haven't had a safety intervention in a long time. So I think it's getting to the point where, admittedly, I have been optimistic about this in the past, but I think this time. All right, I won't say it. All right, fair enough. All right.
Yeah, they want him to say it.
Okay, I think it'll happen.
Yeah, so that's great. The one person said, "Don't say it." You know what he was gonna say. That he thinks gonna happen this year, and then the rest of the crowd's like, "No, say it. Just say it." So I think that's exciting, right? He really thinks it's gonna happen this year. He's seen it for himself. Hopefully, you're all seeing it as well. I know the majority of people out there only have 11.3.6, but I think I think to the wide release of people will get 11.4. It'll probably be a .2 release, and it could be a .1. But if what we're seeing already with .1 is it's really, really smooth, very human like. There's still some kinks in it, but again, we are in mid-May, And just to see the progress that we've gone from January to May has been immense. So just imagine we have a longer time span between that and the end of the year. So my estimation at this point is that we will see version 12 come out maybe around, say, October, November-ish. And then we will, in version 12, again, that'll be end to end. Everything will be neural net. So photons come in, the neural net's taking all of the image around it, right? And, in the unified vector space, and then it'll put out a mechanical signal to the steering pedals, to the steering wheel, the brakes, etc. And that will be version 12. So again, I think that comes out, say, October, November. And then as a Christmas present, I think that they will go ahead and give everybody the 1 month free of FSD Beta. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I just want to kind of clip out just specifically the FSD Beta parts and questions and things that were discussed during this shareholder meeting. It was a lot of fun. Hope you guys enjoyed the stream last night. I think we went for 5 straight hours. I'll be doing something similar like this with the CNBC close, but more to come from the Tesla shareholder meeting. All right. Again, if you enjoy this content, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, ring that bell. Love you all. Peace.